All right. Well, welcome back. We're excited to be here for our second Bakersfield Business Partners podcast. My name is Duncan Harris. I'm the owner of Insurance Savings Group. I'm the president of Bakersfield Business Partners, and we have here with us today. Go ahead.
Cecile Shanklin with Ticor Title. I'm the vice president of Bakersfield Business Partners.
Awesome. So Bakersfield Business Partners is a networking group. We meet once a week on Tuesday mornings. We help grow each other's businesses through referrals, but really I like to say through education and relationships. So we've been together about 10 years, and we just started a podcast to highlight some of our members, to highlight what's going on in different industries. So we've got Cecile here today. You're with Ticor Title. Cecile, tell me a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. I'm a Bakersfield girl, born and raised. My husband and I have 3 sons. They're all married with kids. We have 6 grandkids, and it's all about family.
What more could you ask for?
That's exactly it.
I mean, you're living the dream here.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome. How long have you been with Ticor Title?
I've been with Ticor for about 19 years.
Okay, about 19 years. So for everyone who doesn't know, tell me what a title company does.
Okay. At Ticor Title, we are an escrow and title company. On the escrow side, we are an independent third party who carries out the terms and conditions of a real estate contract.
Okay.
On the title side, we search the title of the property, of real property, which is homes, those kinds of things. We search the title, make sure there's no liens, judgments against them, and we will transfer the title.
Okay. So I want to sell my house, and I need a title company to help me do that. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you're going to make sure for the buyer, the seller, that everything's clear, or kind of maybe walk through that process.
So what we do is, the way it starts is you open escrow. When you open escrow, that triggers a title report to be ordered. Once we get that title report back, we know who's on title to that property, which tells us who the seller is and who has to sign. It tells us if there's any liens against the property, deeds of trust, any city weed abatement liens, things like that. We also run the people's names, so if there's any IRS liens, judgments, things like that, we know about those. So once you get that ordered, we get the escrow instructions going. We call the parties in to sign. We make sure that if there are terms or conditions of the contract, that those are carried out before we close the escrow. There's usually a lender involved. We work very closely with the lenders. And then once we get everything together, everything is signed, loan docs are signed, we get money in, we can transfer the title.
So it's your job to cross all the T's, dot all the I's, look through all the paperwork, and then present it. And then, of course, like you said, you're neutral, right?
Correct.
So you're paid by, who pays you actually?
Well, the buyer pays us, the seller pays us. They both pay us.
They both pay, okay,
Yep.
through the sale of this
Right.
transaction.
Right.
But essentially, you're neutral, and you just make sure the contract's carried out as it says, as it's written.
Correct. And in Kern County, what happens is the escrow fee is typically split in half between the buyer and the seller.
Okay.
The title fee, the seller pays for what we call a homeowner's policy, which ensures the buyer that when they close that property and get title of that property, that they have clear title.
That it's theirs.
That
It doesn't
it's
belong
theirs.
to grandma somewhere else.
Doesn't belong to anybody else.
Right.
And then the buyer on their side, they purchase what's called an lender's policy, and that ensures the lender that they don't have any liens, judgments, anything like that against them.
Got it. So we were talking before we started here today, and we were thinking, hey, most people probably don't know about title, or it's just not interesting to them. But it is extremely important. And I think maybe the best way to illustrate that is through some of the stories or horror stories that people have. So, give us an example of, why title is important and what could go wrong maybe when you don't use a title company or the title company doesn't do their job.
Okay. If a title company does not do their job and the property is transferred, there could be liens against that property that the new owner would then have to pay. So, a story to that background. We had a customer who came in and he wanted to sell his property. We're like, okay, has a buyer. Okay, we're good. We ran the title report, and it just so happens that he transferred it from himself to his sister, and then the sister transferred it to the brother, another brother, and then that brother transferred it to a cousin, and that cousin transferred it back to our guy. So when the title report came in, it showed all these what we call uninsured deeds because they were just deeds that were written and filed with the county.
Right.
Well, when that happens, everybody has been in title, so we have to search every one of those people. And not only them, we have to search their spouses because California is a community property state. So we asked all of them for what we call a statement of information. We got that. Cleared names until we got to this one. And the sister's husband owed a large amount of child support.
Oh, no.
So my poor seller says, well, what can I do? He goes, I want to sell this property. And I said, well, you can sell the property, but any proceeds you get will go towards his child support. And
first, in other words,
that's exactly
you're
it.
not going to make any money here.
That's exactly it, because he owed well over $150,000.
And these people were just, being nice to their family. Hey, here you go, cousin. I've got this house, and I'm going to sign this form. And they thought they were doing it right. They filed it with the county.
Yep.
But they didn't go through any of this due process at all.
Correct.
And so then this guy gets left carrying the bill, unfortunately.
He gets left carrying the bag, and he said to me, he goes, well, when am I going to be able to sell my property? And I said, well, you've got two choices. You get three, actually. You can sell it and give the money away. You can wait until they die, or you don't sell it.
That's kind of an awkward phone call, like, hey, brother, how's your health? How's it going over there?
Yeah.
I need you to hurry this process up.
Yeah.
They could turn it into a meth lab. They could turn that into an income-producing asset. No, I'm kidding, obviously. No, that's crazy, So I was telling you also, my dad just spoke to one of his clients, and that's what the guy said. He goes, I'm just going to deed this property to my daughter. And, of course, the backstory is he was married and his wife passed away, and there's also two stepchildren involved. And it's probably not that simple as just signing the deed and transferring it down, is it?
Well, and the other thing people don't think about is what if he has judgments against him? What if he owes, property taxes, back taxes, the IRS, the state taxes? All those things are still on that property, because when you own a piece of property, if you have liens against you, they are attached to that property. So if that happens, then the daughter's going to have to pay all those off before she can sell the property.
This is where the American dream of owning a piece of property becomes the nightmare, right? You think, hey, I've got this house and I'm going to sell it and make $300,000. But oh shoot, grandpa didn't pay his bills. Yep. And now we owe $180,000 or something. So, I mean, these stories are fascinating. They're certainly interesting. You guys really ensure that people have an asset, that people have what they think they have. Yep. And that there's not some hidden catch or, bill or some kind of paperwork that wasn't done right. Well, 10 years ago.
We're ensuring the fact that, they don't move into their house and they're living happily ever after. And then a relative from the previous owner comes and says, oh no, grandpa left a quarter of this to me. It's mine. Get out.
Oh man. And that's, you've seen that happen?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And in that case, they have a title policy. So they can, what we tell them is they have to write it, put it in writing. We send it to our legal department. Our legal department contacts them. And then once the legal department gets the story, they'll take care of it.
Right. So out of my hands, I don't have to worry about it. Ticor Title Legal Department has done their diligence. They've insured this essentially. Their lawyers are going to make sure it's all squared up. Yeah, that's awesome. So what's the ideal customer? I mean, how do people pick title companies? Is it something their real estate agent does, or kind of talk about that?
Pretty typically, real estate agents, listing real estate agents have a title company that they use. They have an escrow officer that they're familiar with, that they do business with. So typically it is the real estate agent. However, the seller can choose anybody they want. The seller has the right to say, no, I don't want to use that company. I want to use this company. on a contract, buyer's agents oftentimes write in a title company on the contract. And that's where the listing agent has to be very diligent, go through the whole contract and make sure something like that is not happening so that he can take care of his customer.
So why would an agent or a customer choose Ticor Title? So what sets you guys apart? What sets you above your competition?
Well, I think let's face it, all title companies are the same. They give out the same product. That's what they do.
Okay.
I think at Ticor, they get me for one.
That's right.
That's right. Because I'm here to educate people. I'm
Sure.
here to help people. So if somebody's transaction goes awry, if there's a problem, that's what my job is. I solve the problem. I'm a problem solver.
Sure.
We have great escrow officers that have been in the business for 20, a long time. Our youngest escrow officer, I think, has been in the business at least 10 years.
Wow.
So they have plenty of experience. We're very experienced. We are a small shop, but we take care of our customers. We have customers come to our office to sign. We enjoy meeting people. We enjoy talking to them. And we think that we handle their transactions quickly and get them their money.
Sure. So you care. I mean, you're a people person, really.
Absolutely.
And you're just out there helping people, educating people, and making sure they're getting the best thing. So how about this? What is the best part about your job there at Ticor Title? Like what's the most rewarding aspect?
Oh, okay. That's
your
easy.
position?
The most rewarding aspect is when people come to pick up their closing statement with their check in it.
Their check in hand. And then you're the hero.
Or a buyer comes in and says, "Oh, I need my closing statement so I can get my key to the mailbox." That's the best because they're happy, they're excited. When they sign loan docs and they're finished signing loan docs, they're happy, they're excited. It's to see people really excited about owning a piece of property.
Oh, that's great. And so besides real estate, are you able to help with other transactions?
Yes.
Like sale of a business?
Yes. We do mobile homes because if anyone tells you, "Hey, I'll sell you my mobile home, just give me a couple $1,000s," don't ever do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that because mobile homes they have to be transferred differently. And if they aren't transferred correctly, you may not own that mobile home.
They're transferred differently.
Mm-hmm. You have to go through the Department of Housing.
Oh, wow.
And it's a process that if not done correctly, you have to go back to the last owner who did it correctly and then go forward
Start
from
working
there.
forward.
So that can be very, very complicated. We also do business opportunities.
Okay.
If someone's going to sell a business, someone's going to sell a restaurant, a liquor license, anything like that, a gas station, we take care of those transactions also.
So then again, same thing. If I'm going to go buy a business tomorrow, I want to make sure this guy's paid his bills. There's not liens that I'm acquiring, right? That's kind of what you're doing there.
That's exactly it. We make sure that there aren't any tax liens, any EDD liens. We make sure that he has paid his vendors because oftentimes what happens is if someone just takes over the business without doing escrow, they get stuck with the previous owner's vendor liens. And that can really, and there's just certain safeguards when you go through the escrow and you know that all this stuff has been signed off by the state, by all of these vendors, that you're in a good shape.
Sure. And then look, if you're buying a business for, I don't know, $200,000, what percentage of that transaction is escrow going to be? 1% or something like that?
It's not much.
It's a fraction, I would think.
It's a fraction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's worth it. I mean, that was my point.
Absolutely.
It's easily worth it. Hey, increase the sale by 1% or whatever, and let's cover this cost. Let's make sure it's done right.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine that bought a pizza place, and the gentleman just said, "Oh, just take it over." And they were, unfortunately, that's what they did. And it turned out that this gentleman had not paid his bills, and they ended up putting over $80,000 in this place, and they still lost it. And it was just so sad. That's why you go through a title company.
Interesting. So why don't more people know about this? They just don't know the risk that they're in. They think, hey, I'm going to call up my friend and we're going to do this deal over the phone or whatever. They just simply don't know.
Unfortunately, 100 years ago, people did things on a handshake, and that meant something.
Right.
That's just not the way of the world these days, unfortunately. We'd like to think that, but it really isn't. And you don't know until you start looking into, somebody's past, if they have liens against them, things like that. You just don't know. You don't know. And if those things aren't taken care of, then it can come back to you.
Yeah. So you've been at Ticor Title for how long? You
19
said
years.
19 years. And is that your experience in the title industry?
I've been in the real estate industry since 1981. I got in title in 1991.
Oh my gosh. So a little while.
Yep, a little while.
You've done this a little while.
Yep.
And before you were with Ticor, you were a real estate agent, or what were you doing there?
When I was in real estate, I was managing offices.
Got it.
So I did have my real estate license and sold for a little while.
You kind of have like that manager's persona, I think. Like, get it done, no nonsense.
That's what it's all about. You want to get it done.
That's right.
You want to get it done.
That's what you're looking for in a good title person right there.
Well, I think the other thing is people need to understand that the way they take title to property is very important, because the way you take title to property determines how it is going to be dispersed if something happens to you. And that's what people don't understand. So if my husband and I are married and we take title as joint tenants, if one of us passes, you just file an affidavit of death of joint tenant and he automatically gets the property. If we don't have a vesting, which is what the joint tenants is, then the property has to go to probate. So people don't understand that.
Meaning you're married and your intention is to maybe pass this house down to your kids or to someone else. And that may not be the case if something happens to one of you. Right? Or you got to go through probate, and then there's costs. And what's the time through probate right now? Average time.
12, 18 months.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. That's why I try to tell people, especially people who have older parents, grandparents that own property, please look at how they own the property, how they're vested in the property, because that's going to determine how quickly you can dispose of the property and close the estate.
So, does someone call you on that? Do they talk to an estate attorney, estate planning attorney? What's kind of the practical steps they need to take there?
Well, first, what they need to do is they need to call me and find out how title is held.
Okay.
And then they need to decide what they want to do. Now, if there is already a will in place, then that's great, but you're still going to have to go through probate. If you want to do it the easiest way, I kind of feel like a living trust is a good way. You go to a trust attorney, they take care of it, and then everybody knows what's going on.
So just because I have a will, or even though I have a will, that property is still going to go through the probate process, which is probably not what I'm intending.
Correct.
I'm probably writing out this will, okay, it's going to go to my 3 kids, thinking on the day I die, it's going to pass to them. That's not going to happen.
No.
Okay, so the state doesn't recognize that as...
Well, once you go to court, then the judge will recognize that, yes.
Yeah, but that's after how long?
But it has to be done legally.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. So they need to call you. They need to kind of research their properties a little bit, and then maybe talk to like an estate planning attorney.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and really specify in the proper way.
In the proper way.
How they want to pass these assets on.
And the nice thing is when you do a trust, it puts everything right there. You can change it if you want to. If it's a revocable trust, you can change it if you want to. So if something happens and you need to change it, you can change it. And it kind of grows with you and with your assets. So if you get, more property, you just need to make sure you put it into your trust and take care of those things. So it's very, very well worth the money.
Right. Otherwise, you're going to have the horror story, right? Otherwise...
Well, you're going to pay for probate.
Yeah, you're going to pay for probate. What's that cost?
It depends.
Depends on is it a percentage of the property that's being passed through, or
no? It depends on how big the estate is. There's all kinds of things that it depends on.
Probably not cheap.
No. It's not cheap.
Bummer. Nothing is these days.
Nothing is cheap.
Is inflation hitting your business like it is everyone else at this time?
It's interesting you say that. We don't raise our fees very much. Our fees are based on liabilities, much like how that goes.
Like an insurance policy. So you're looking
Exactly.
at data, loss data, essentially.
Yep, that's exactly it. Yep.
So are the number of losses, they've been about flat then? I mean, these issues that come up in title.
We've been very lucky. Back when, in the heyday, when everybody was buying
Everyone
and
was
selling houses
making money
and
back
making
in
tons of money.
2005, yeah.
There was lots of issues. There was issues with notaries. There was issues with fraud. There was issues with people bringing in straw buyers, and there was issues with people paying people just to sign the stuff and put it in their name, and there was all kinds of issues.
That's a good job if you can get it.
Yeah. Well, and it can ruin your credit too. So, it's we do our due diligence on every single transaction to make sure that we take care of things.
So there's another thing I think people should be aware of that we've talked about a little bit, and that's when people enter into these transactions, they might be making themselves more open to fraud or wire fraud, right? They're going to be targeted. They might start getting emails or phone calls. Talk about that a little bit.
Wire fraud is very prevalent. If you are going to wire money,
let's just explain wire fraud.
Okay.
really
So what wire
quick.
fraud is if you're going to go to the bank and you are going to send my company money, I am going to give you what's called wiring
Because
instructions.
I'm trying to sell this house. Okay, here's
Right.
$10,000. I want to buy this house.
Correct.
Right.
Our company is going to give you wiring instructions. Okay. We do not do that through email unless it is secure, because fraudsters are always phishing in the emails, looking for little words and looking for little things that tell them there's a real estate transaction. And
They're
then
just waiting.
They're just waiting.
Yep.
And then they spoof our information, send out an email, and tell people, oh, we've changed our bank. Here's our new bank. Here's our new wiring instructions. We never change our bank, ever. We always go to the same bank. When you get your paperwork, we will give you wiring instructions. Those will never change.
Okay, good to know.
Yes.
But that's what going on. That's a huge issue,
Huge.
right? You've probably seen massive losses in that area where, I got an email on Friday and it said it was from Kim at the office and we were supposed to wire our deposit money.
Here's a great story. There were these people in Denver, Colorado, and they saved their money because they were going to move and they were going to retire to Colorado. They were so excited.
Yeah.
And they were in escrow in Colorado.
This sounds like not a great story, but it's going to be a terrible story.
Exactly. It's a terrible story.
Lead us on.
So they're under contract, they're in escrow, and everything's going, and they get an email that says, we're from the title company. If you send your money in by this date, we can give you a reduced rate on your title insurance and your escrow fees. All you have to do, here's our information, wire it to this bank account and this bank. Oh. And they...
Sure. Seemed legit. Probably looked official.
Looked very official. It was all good. Unfortunately, they lost $600,000.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, we have had situations in our office where we have had fraudsters and we have caught them. And if you catch them quick enough, you can get the money back.
Probably within a certain amount of time.
Exactly.
I mean, before it actually transfers from one bank to the other.
Exactly. But if you're not Johnny on the spot, quick on the draw, you're not getting any of that money back.
So I get an email from a title company that says, hey, wire over $18,000. I should probably make a phone call because I'll be saying, Cecile, I've got these wiring instructions here and here's your bank. But I've got an email from... We want to make sure, right?
We want to make sure.
Before we move that kind of money.
And I have people call me every day just to verify wire instructions, because you have to think, you have to know, and you have to be aware before you wire money. And when you wire the money, make sure you contact that party that you wired the money to and say, I just wired my money. You should have it shortly.
Right.
Please let me know when you get it.
Right. Exactly.
So that's very important. Inquire before you wire.
Inquire before you wire. There you go. Do you have a tattoo or?
No, that's just a little saying we have.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been so interesting to me anyways. I think it's fascinating. What else? I mean, is there anything else that you just kind of want to tell me or our listeners?
I want to tell everybody that it's very important that you know how you hold title. It's very important because if you don't know, you can't plan for the future. Another thing is if you have grandparents who do die or parents who die, take care of that property now. Don't wait. Don't let Cousin Red live in it for 10 years and then everybody decides, oh, well, now maybe we should sell it. And then 10 years down the line, you have to do probate. Then it costs more money,
Sure.
more money. So you just really have to know your situation, where you are, and be comfortable with what could happen.
And it's as simple as making a phone call to your company.
As simple as making a phone call.
And you can kind of get that process started for them.
You bet. I mean, they can call me anytime. My number is 661-319-3851, and I can look up their property and tell them exactly what their situation is, and I can send them information that can help them with what they need to do.
Well, that's great. So super educational, super informational stuff. I really appreciate it. Let's talk about why you're here. So we've been members of a BNI group called Bakersfield Business Partners. I think I've been in for 10 years now. I'm actually not sure. It's been too long. How long have you been a member of?
I think I've been there about 10 years
About 10
too.
years? Yeah, we've forgotten. Time flies though. So tell me a little bit, about how BNI, how our networking group helps you.
It helps me greatly. Number one, when you're in a networking group like our group, you get to meet people. They educate you with what you do, with what they do. So when you come across somebody who needs something, you know right where to send them to.
Right.
I have business partners in our networking group that I work with on a daily basis. There's a lender, there's a real estate agent, there's a pest control company, there's all kinds of things that we work with daily. Mm-hmm. And we know if one of our friends, one of my coworkers is looking for a certain thing, I can refer them to somebody. And I have the confidence. That's the important thing. I have the confidence that when I refer them, it's going to be done and done right.
Sure. So, for those that don't know, we meet every week and we educate the other members in the group. There's about 25 of us. We're all professionals or business owners in some way. And we just educate each other on, hey, what's going on in our industry, what to look out for. Here's a new thing that's going on. Here's a trend. So I'm a health insurance agent. And I'm so fortunate to know, I know a little bit about title. Mm-hmm. Just like you said, so if my mom's buying a property, I'll say, oh, Mom, hold on one second. Make sure we do this and this. Because I've heard you stand up and tell me every week or, every month, hey, make sure you do this. Yep. So I feel so fortunate, and I love being that go-to person for my clients, right? I'm meeting with Medicare age seniors and just different people. So it's always great. Well, look, thank you so much. I think that kind of wraps up our podcast today.
Awesome.
You're the second person. Everyone was too scared to go after Richard. So thank you for being brave. And Cecile, glad you could join us. And until next time, we'll see you then.
Thank you. It's been a privilege.
All right.